Assalamu alaikum listeners, I'm Saad and you're watching Pitch Talk on Inspire FM. In this show, we will have a special guest who will light up the show with his energy, with his passion and amazing banter for cricket. He is a British Pakistani comedian, writer, he is also an actor and a cricket commentator. He first gained recognition through his stand-up comedy, especially with his hit show Muslim Do It Better. His comedy touches on identity, British Muslim life, and cultural observations. Alongside his comedy career, he's been a beautiful voice in the world of cricket commentary, as he regularly featured on BBC's Test Match special. He's one of the few South Asian Muslim commentators in mainstream British sports broadcasting, using his platform to blend humor, analysis, and representation. With me today is the one and only brother Aatif Nawaz. Yes.
Okay,
Assalamu
cool.
alaikum. How you doing?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I'm very well. How about yourself?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Alhamdulillah. So, brother, my first question to you is, how did your love for cricket first begin?
Well, I think like a lot of people, as a child, like everybody in my family loved cricket and they would be watching cricket all the time. And I didn't really understand. I was sort of 6, 7 years old in 1992 when Pakistan famously won that 1992 World Cup. Incidentally, I was in Pakistan at the time and there was this whole sort of euphoria in the country, for cricket. And you sort of like understand, you sort of see pictures and flashes of it. And I got more and more into it. And this is, 92. I mean, this is an age before the internet and, just like instant reporting and things like that. You only really heard about things through word of mouth or you happened to catch it on the TV. And there weren't as many channels on the TV as well in those days. So, I remember that 92 World Cup pretty vividly as the first time I started watching the sport and thinking like, oh, there's something to this. This is interesting. This is exciting. And that's probably what hooked me into cricket.
So, did you ever play cricket growing up, or were you mostly into commentating?
No, I didn't really get into commentary until a lot later. Like I played cricket as a kid, as an adult. I still play cricket. I was sort of into the recreational game very quickly. But at school, I was identified as somebody who might have some skill and talent and things like that. And I played like county cricket at youth levels and second and third 11 levels, and just played a very good stand for cricket, represent my university, various sort of other teams and things like that. But I love playing cricket. There was a time in my life where I was playing cricket more than I did anything else, like 6 days a week, like 5-6 hours a day. It would be cricket, just training, trying to be as good as I possibly could. Like commentary didn't happen until way later, until probably sort of the late 2010s. That's when it became a thing. I didn't even think about cricket commentary. I didn't know that was a career. I didn't know that was a thing that people got into. I probably wasn't even aware of Test Match Special until way later. So I was a player before I was a talker.
So, what was it like stepping into the commentary box for the first time at the BBC?
It was very cool. My first Test match at the BBC, it was during COVID. Like it was really bizarre because most commentators, when they make their debut, they probably have thousands of fans there, and there's a great atmosphere and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it was an empty stadium in Southampton at the Rose Bowl, and it was Pakistan against England in a Test match. And I was a little bit like, I wouldn't say nervous, but definitely kind of aware of the gravity of the situation. I was thinking like, okay, this is a big opportunity. I need to make the most of this. I need to put my best foot forward, because I'd done some commentary before, but never on that scale. Like this is international test cricket, which in this country is still the pinnacle. So I remember it vividly, all the little details, and it was very exciting. I had my little leather notebook. Some people like to go with sort of tablets or computers or laptops or whatever it is. But for me, it was always the little leather notebook with my notes and stuff in it. I really like having that. I was on with Ebony Rainford Brent, who's World Cup winner with England. And, she was really, really cool, like helped me feel comfortable straight away. We were chatting back and forth. It was a lot of fun. And it's a day I'll always remember. It was really cool.
So, when you were commentating live in the big matches, did you ever get nervous?
I mean, you don't get nervous necessarily, but you do you're really aware, like you're acutely aware that there's like hundreds of thousands of people listening to you, right? And you know that millions of people probably hear this at some stage. So particularly in the UK, the radio audience is a lot bigger than the TV audience because it's free, right? And cricket in England mostly is broadcast behind a paywall. There's some cricket that is on free to air, but it's not a lot. Most of the cricket is behind a paywall. So of the vast majority of people, even if they have access sometimes to the subscription content, they listen on the radio, or they'll listen to the audio version, or they'll stream it off the app or whatever, or BBC Sounds, whatever it is. So like, you know that there's loads of people listening, so you think, oh, I better not get this wrong, and then you just prep. Like, the more you prepare, you don't feel that anxiety or that anxiousness. You feel like, okay, you know, I know what I'm doing. I'm here for a reason, and alhamdulillah, you know, always, like, nothing awful's happened so far.
So my next question to you is, which cricketer did you idolize growing up?
I had a poster of Wasim Akram on my wall, man. It's really weird because he was left-handed. I'm right-handed, but I had a poster of Wasim Akram on my wall. I also sort of really liked a player called Graham Hick. I don't know why, because he wasn't like this world-beating record. He was a record breaker in some ways in county cricket, scored 100 first-class centuries, things like that. But he, like as a kid, I don't know, there was something about him I really liked. He was a right-handed batter. He bowled off-spin like me as well. And we, you know, I just really like. He was from Worcestershire, right? He was played for the county Worcestershire. I'd never been to Worcestershire. I probably couldn't point to Worcestershire on a map as a 7, 8, 9-year-old. But he became my favorite player, and I, you know, watch and find his scores and support him from afar. Years later, I actually got a chance to meet him, and I think in 1995, my brother took me to an England match, and he was playing, and I wanted to shake his hand after, or like get an autograph or something. But I remember he was carrying 2 giant bags. In those days, they didn't have these funky shoulder bags that cricketers nowadays do. They used to call them coffins. They were these big black boxes that you carried all your kit in, and he had 2 of them, one in either hand. So I couldn't get him to. I felt weird about saying, like, can you sign my thing? So I got Darren Goff's autograph instead, which is fine. But he was like, Graham Hick was my big sort of first cricket crush, if there's such a thing.
So my next question is that there are many talented and amazing cricketers currently in international cricket. Which one would you say is your most favorite, and why?
You know, there's so many players in the modern game I really admire. You know, Travis Head is such an exciting player. I really love watching him bat. You know, Abhishek Sharma from India is phenomenal. Tilak Verma also from India. India is producing some really exciting cricketers at the moment. Obviously, being Pakistani heritage, love, you know, players like Babar Azam for their, you know, their technical prowess, their just aesthetic brilliance of the way they play the game. You know, there's so many players that I really enjoy watching, but you know, Saim Ayub is a player I get really excited about watching. Like, you know, he's feels like box office and stuff. Him and Travis Head, I think the pair of them, they're very, very exciting to me. I really love watching them. Now it's weird because I've met enough players that now I sort of watch it a little bit differently. So I kind of watch certain players and think, I really hope he does well. And I'll watch to just be like, oh, you know, how's he getting on? Because I was chatting to him last week and he told me he was going to try, you know, this delivery. He told me he was going to try this change up, this new innovation. So I sort of try and stay across a lot. But I mean, the modern game, you know, it's full of superstars. Like, it's built to be about players now rather than teams. Like it used to be, you know, in the 1980s, it was the Great West Indies team. In the 90s, Pakistan was very exciting. Australia was very strong in the 2000s. India as a team is very exciting now. But like the modern game, I think, is about individual players, like, you know, franchise leagues. People sign the player and then you tune in. You might not be a fan of the Joburg Super Kings or the Pal Royals, but you might be a fan of a player like Will Jacks. Will Jacks is a player I really like, by the way. Will Jacks, I'm a huge fan of. Yeah, like, you know, that is like, there's just many players that I sort of gravitate to. We're very lucky. Modern cricket is full of superstars.
So what's your favorite cricket match you've ever watched live or commentated on?
Easy. It was Pakistan versus India in the 2021 T20 World Cup. I remember commentating on that. It was the first time I was commentating on an India versus Pakistan match, which, as you know, is a huge deal. It's the most watched sporting fixture in the world, bigger than American football and everything, right? Like, it's just the biggest fixture in the world in terms of audience. And like I remember coming into that, Pakistan hadn't beaten India in a World Cup before. They'd beaten them in an ICC event. They won the Champions Trophy final in 2017. That was before my commentary career started. But 2021, I vividly remember, going into that with apprehension, that tension. And Pakistan famously won that match by 10 wickets, and I was on mic, I was on commentary to call that moment. And I've still got the clip of me commentating it. There's a video, and like you could see me looking a bit emotional, because it is emotional for me. It was the first time I'd seen them do this, and they did it so convincingly. Grew up a Pakistan fan. I was always a Pakistan cricket fan. Before I even knew what countries were, the concept of countries, I was like, these guys in green, that's my team. So, like having watched them all my life, it was a really, really, really big moment. And I was so lucky, alhamdulillah, to be on mic and call it at the time. So easily my favorite match to have commentated on.
How did you prepare for your commentary gig? Was there a lot of research involved?
Yeah, there's a ton of research that goes into cricket commentary. Like you got to know the teams, right? Like for example, just as we're recording this, I'm working on the IPL for the BBC, and the IPL is difficult because you've got your international players, but then you've also got sort of domestic players that people you might never have heard of before. You've never heard this guy's name, so now you need to go find out who is this guy, what does he bowl, what does he bat, what's his record, what's his recent form. Like, what's he been doing recently? These are things that are really important. If it's somebody the audience might not be familiar with, you'd like to learn a few things about them. I remember a player called Yashasvi Jaiswal from India, who's very famous now. Now he plays for India. But at the time, when he made his debut, people didn't know anything about him. He was just debuting for the Rajasthan Royals in the IPL. And I discovered that he was a really big fan of the film Titanic. And that's interesting. People like to know that. People like to know something personal about the players that they're watching. And so you try and hunt for these things to try and bring the game to life. Obviously, you need to know things about the context of the game. So if you're doing a tournament like a World Cup, you have to make a point like, Bangladesh need to win this game to stay alive in the tournament. Or if England win this, they're through to the semi-finals. If the West Indies win this, it'll be their 4th World Cup or whatever. You need to have all that historical context and local context as well. You need to know about conditions. This is something I'm still, learning a lot as we go along about reading conditions. So, you walk out, you look at a cricket pitch. I've looked at thousands of cricket pitches in my life. I still don't know what I'm looking at. Like, they all look the same. Like, it's very hard to know the difference, right? What they just look like a cricket pitch. Like, how do I know if it's going to turn, if it's going to seam, if it's going to keep low, if it's going to be bouncy? It's impossible, right? It's impossible to know that. But you can make an educated guess based on things that you learn from time. So, for example, you might know that in India, the soil is very soft and crumbly. In parts of India, by the way, India is a huge country, but parts of India, soft and crumbly, which makes it very spinner friendly in places like Chennai. In Pakistan, they have the harder soil, which doesn't deteriorate. So unless you're, artificially creating that, that sort of abrasions and things like that, you're going to get, you're going to get high scoring games, like generally, particularly in a place like Rawalpindi, which has a really even climate. Like people talk about that pitch being a road. You might hear this expression all the time. That pitch is a road. That pitch is a road. That meaning that the pitch is flat, like the road is flat. And obviously they haven't driven in the parts of London where I have to drive, because I promise you those roads would swing and seam all over the place. But anyway, that's where the expression comes from. That pitch is a road. And you got to do loads of research is the short answer. Like you just like it does consume a lot of time. But it's worth it. Like, I think it helps your broadcast. People enjoy it. People appreciate it, the information that you give them. It's much easier to research now than it used to be as well, because you have the internet and everything is on there. Every bit of sports data is documented. And you have now you even have AI to help you find things if you need to. I haven't really learned how to do that yet. I will at some stage, and I've heard it's very helpful. So short answer, lots of research.
So do you ever get emotionally invested in a match while commentating?
Yeah, all the time. Of course I do. Like, it's cricket and I'm a fan first. So I really love, I get really into it, but I try and broadcast it as impartially as possible. So being impartial doesn't mean that you can't be, emotionally invested. You absolutely can. You should reflect that perspective as well. But being impartial is, being honest, basically. You know what I mean? Team A did this, team B did this. I can't believe Team B did this. Like, that's different. You know what I mean? Like, you can still express and be expressive and emotional and all that kind of stuff, but you have to just make sure that you're being balanced and fair in your coverage. And if you represent a perspective, you've got to quantify it or balance it the other way around as well. So yeah, always, like, even little, like, I get excited about sort of under 19s university cricket in England. Like, oh, like, you know, I'm invested when I'm watching it. It's the best feeling to watch sport and be invested.
So what's the biggest misconception people have about cricket commentary?
That it's easy to get into. You know, I get so many emails from people saying, like, brother, like, you know, I've always wanted to try this. How do I get in and get a chance to commentate for the BBC? I was like, brother, there's no university for this. Like, you know, it's very, like, you know, there's a lot of people who email me and say things like, wow, you took a long time to get there. How do I do it faster? Like, just complete lack of self-awareness sometimes. The biggest misconception is very difficult to get into. It's very difficult to progress in. It is a bit of a closed world. It's quite remarkable that Allah gave me this opportunity to get in there, but it is a bit of a closed world. You know, it's really hard to penetrate, hard to get in there. You know, the short answer is you have to try and get commentary gigs at a lower level and build a reputation, and then, you know, like, reach out to people and network, and, you know, just try and share as much of it, build your following, build your reputation, all that kind of stuff. It's a tough gig to get. Yeah, it's yeah, I would say probably the biggest misconception is that it's an easy world to get into.
So when your favorite team is playing, how do you manage to stay neutral in commentary?
Well, I don't want to lose my job, bud. Like, you know, if you lose your neutralness, if you're no longer impartial, then you know, everybody's listening and they'll point it out to you. Sometimes I'm being you know, impartial, and people will still point that out to me. Like, I think if you're of Pakistani heritage, people are already ready with a lot of you know, like ideas for how to hit you and critiques of your work. So you have to be even more acutely aware of that. But I think I'm pretty balanced. I've probably watched more Indian cricket than most Indian cricket fans, because I broadcast the IPL. You know, I'm across Indian cricket. You know, I try and watch as much cricket as I possibly can. I'm aware of what's happening in the BPL. I'm across the BBL. I'm across the CPL. You know, and of the other domestics as well. You know, SA20, ILT20. Like, I'm across all of it. I try and make sure I'm up to date with everything. That's just in men's cricket, obviously in women's cricket as well. Like, you know, I like to know what's happening. You can't always have a perspective, by the way. Like, your personal space is your personal space, or your social media, for example, whatever. You can say whatever you want. You know what I mean? I've never had any blowback for anything that I've said about something that I liked or something that I was passionate about. You know, like, even, you know, I post about Palestine, you know, from time to time. Quite frequently. For a while I was posting exclusively about Palestine, but that doesn't interfere with my work. It's got nothing to do with me calling a match or broadcasting a cricket match. So, you know, you can have your life and have your perspective and have your passion, have your opinion, and as long as when you're on that mic, you're impartial, you're doing the job you're there to do. You know, you learn that as well with time. You know, I still work with players who use the word we. So, and you sort of understand, if you played cricket for England, I won't name and shame anybody, but there's so many players who come on who played for England, and when they're on commentary, they'll be like, we, you know, like, we need to win this match. We need 20 more runs. We need to be more like this. And I'm like, you mean England, right? England need 20 more runs. England need to win this match. Like, quantify that, because you're not we at the moment. You're not playing for England. You're a broadcaster on the BBC, Sky, whatever it is. So, you know, people do that. People do sneak into these habits. But as a sort of ball by ball lead commentator, I've always been trained by the very best people, the very best in the business. They still feed back to me if there's anything that I do wrong and things like that. So, yeah, like, it's easy if you just stay focused.
So you've traveled the world to different countries and different stadiums, and you've been to stadiums where the atmosphere has been electric. Which stadium would you say has the best atmosphere and environment?
There's loads that I could choose, but I'm going to be biased and go for Rawalpindi. You know, it was awesome. Like, when it's full, it's phenomenal. The Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium, the noise those fans make is insane. They're just up for it. Like, you don't understand, bro. It's so difficult to get in that stadium. Like, you know, you've got to get through insane amounts of security. You've got to park your car miles away, take a shuttle bus, walk for ages, and they still pack out the stadium every single time. The Rawalpindi cricket fans, they've got a wonderful reputation. There's still so many grounds around the world I want to visit and see, so I can broaden my perspective. Obviously, Southampton, the Rose Bowl will always be special to me for sentimental reasons. That's where I started. Lord's Cricket Ground is the home of cricket. I love working there. But in terms of crowd atmosphere, for me, Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium in Pakistan is just one of a kind.
So have you ever had a funny or unexpected moment in the commentary box?
Oh, loads of them. So many funny moments. Sometimes you'll say the wrong thing. Like you'll be so deep in a spell, you won't understand the things that you're saying can have different meanings to different people. And then someone will point them out to you, and then you'll want to laugh on the air. Like it happened to me in England World Cup winner Alex Hartley. So she was on commentary with me, and we had this joke. We just had this moment where we realized that what we were saying was quite provocative, and then we just laughed. We laughed on the air for like a good 3 minutes while there was a match going on, and I'm commentating while I'm laughing, the man plays it to point, you're trying to just control yourself. And I have so many incidents like that, and what I've learned is you obviously don't try and do it. You try and stay professional, but also you don't let it you don't let it make you anxious or self-conscious about your work.
So do you like the direction modern day cricket is going towards in terms of T20 cricket and leagues like the T10 League and the 100 League?
I mean, these doesn't matter if I like it or not, to be honest. These are here to stay. They bring a lot of money into the game. Players deserve to be paid. It's all about how it's managed. Like it could just take over the game, and then it would be very detrimental. We've already seen a knock-on effect on sort of Test cricket in particular in certain countries. Now, obviously in England, Australia, India, they can subsidize Test cricket. In fact, Test cricket is a big moneymaker in these countries. But in countries where it's not a big moneymaker, the audience demands T20 cricket, things like that, T20 leagues, loads of T20 leagues, official and unofficial exist. So, it could, if it's not managed correctly, we could end up in a spot of bother going forward. The amount of money that's coming into it is astronomical. So, it's hard. It's hard for a player as well if you want to focus on the longer form of the game. If you're like in Bangladesh, for example, and you want to, play Test cricket for Bangladesh, what's your financial incentive for doing so? There's no real financial incentive. You want to be able to be a versatile cricketer. You might want to play Test cricket for Bangladesh for the pride of it, but you also want to play T20 cricket because that's where the money's going to come from. You want a BPL contract, PSL contract, maybe an IPL contract if you're really lucky. These are the things that players are now aspiring to. The sort of the power dynamic has shifted a little bit, I would say, and possibly not in a way that is healthy for the game's future.
So what would you say is your opinion on the current state of Pakistan cricket?
Oh God, how many podcasts do you want to do about this? Because we can talk about Pakistan cricket for a long time. It's going through a difficult phase, but I don't take as fatalistic a view as a lot of people do. Like a lot of people say, this is it, Pakistan cricket worst ever moment. And I know I wrote an article last year about Pakistan's worst ever year on the BBC, and I think it was Pakistan's worst ever year up until that remarkable Test series win against England. But it's difficult. They're at a transitional point. They lost those 2 games in the Champions Trophy. But I would argue, people make a big deal of that. Oh my goodness, they couldn't win a single game in the Champions Trophy, their home tournament. They only played 1 game at home. They only played 2 games in the tournament. One of them was washed out. Both the games they played were against very difficult teams. New Zealand is a very strong team. India, a very strong team. They both ended up in the final. So losing to them is not unreasonable. There are many things inside Pakistani cricket that need to improve. I would suggest a lot of it is off the pitch in terms of the administration and the way that the players are handled. I would suggest that a little bit of continuity in personnel is always a good thing. You shouldn't always be so trigger happy in changing your staff, your coaches, your this, your that. Give people a long run. Give your players a little bit of confidence and freedom to play in a way that they'll be more effective. There's some very good people who work at Pakistani cricket as well, inside Pakistani cricket, who will strive to improve it as much as they possibly can. The fear is the style of cricket that Pakistan have played, particularly in T20 cricket, they feel a little bit behind the rest of the world. So they're now attempting to rectify that, but it's all about their fans and their media having the patience. You can't make a change like that overnight. You need to give it time to bed in and improve. And the first series they played against New Zealand with a new attitude, new approach, they lost it 4-1, and people were just dismissing them all over again. But you need to give a team time to rebuild, particularly if you're introducing new players, and new ideas and new strategies. So I think it can only get better. I think it will get better. I do think for Pakistan. I would manage my expectations for next year's men's T20 World Cup. But I think I think they'll do better. You just got to be patient.
Join us next week as I will be having a more light-hearted conversation with Aatif Nawaz, the BBC commentator.